and welcome back to Guiding Stars. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka the Star Keeper.
And I am Steph, aka Starlyn.
Yes. Okay. So we are so excited to present this episode to you today because we want to talk about water. What is water, right? We all deal with it every day. We drink it, we bathe in it. It comes from the sky. It's always all over Earth. And yet this seemingly simple element is so complex and so hardly understood even by scientists today. And so we just want to bring in some topics about that, really dive into the basics of it, get a little complex, and we'll probably do a part 2 of this series going even deeper into water and its properties and how it used to be used. But today we want to kind of start on some more basic talking points and really familiarize ourselves with why water is so important, why it's the most abundant liquid or substance on the planet, and how it affects us every day in more ways than we can ever imagine. So yeah, make sure you have your water with you today because you're probably going to get a little thirsty. I know we will. And yeah, let's dive right into this. We do have notes, by the way, if you see us referencing, just because some of it's a little more scientific, some of it just facts. We want to make sure we get everything right. So if you see us looking off to the side or rustling papers, that's why. So yeah, Star, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So, like you were saying, not everybody really knows too much about water. When I was growing up, never really thought much about it. You just drink it, shower, wash your hands, and, water in the lakes, oceans, wherever, rain.
Yeah.
You never really think or are taught really much about water. I think the most that I knew about water growing up was tap water wasn't that good, probably not so good to drink it because there was, some properties in it that needed to be filtered out. But, you know, we really should have known a lot more back. I wish that water was a major focus
And
in society.
It used to be. As we dive deeper into this topic later on, we're trying not to dive deep right away and really want to lay the groundwork. But it seems that not only do our, maybe not so ancient ancestors and, a lot of indigenous communities and tribes remember and know and have taught about how important water is in not just, the elemental way, but our health, our well-being, and also as a technology. Again, I'm going to get into that maybe in the second episode of this. But yeah, we just want to build a framework for why it's so essential, why it's so important, and why this topic is a lost study. The reason water is being hidden from us. So Star, I'm sure when you were going to school, you were taught, not only is the earth 75% water, but also our bodies are about 75% water. We mirror earth like that. And it turns out, if you look it up today, it looks like the amount of water on earth and in our bodies is being reduced. So I was listening to a video where someone was talking about how he remembers learning 80% water on both earth and our physical beings. I remember the strange number of 74%, like not even 75. I remember getting 74% back when I was in school. And now looking again, it's 70%. So there's a slow indoctrination, a slow push, a slow brainwashing, conditioning for us to be dehydrating not only earth but ourselves. And I think that's really important because, again, as we get into why water is important and the spiritual importance of water, we're going to understand why they are purposely trying to dehydrate us and telling us that less water is necessary within our beings than is actually required.
Yeah, and they're actually even going as low as saying 60 to 70% water right
I
now.
thought I was going to say, I thought I heard that, but I wanted to do it on the safe number, be like, oh, 70. But yeah, I remember seeing something when I looked it up saying 60%. And I was like, whoa, that is so low.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I think also a big part of it is, a lot of people aren't drinking as much water as they even should anyways. Maybe that's why they keep lowering it.
Yes.
I really don't know what the tactic is on that or if it's, based on actual facts as well. But
Yeah,
I
well,
know I didn't drink enough water growing up, so.
yeah, the bottled water companies are actually privatizing water, and I believe that's one of the reasons behind dropping these numbers, not only on Earth but within our beings. If I'm not mistaken, it was Nestle's CEO. I don't know if it's the current one. This is a little older. I don't know how many CEOs they go through, but a Nestle CEO actually was quoted saying that water is not a human right; it is a privilege, and they are not just Nestle, but water companies in general are stealing the water off the land, public water, real drinking fresh water, and selling it to us in, bottled water, and creating, pollutants, plastics, and really just depleting earth and really abusing water. And when you talk about, that we're drinking less water, we're told to drink that in a day. If you drink 8 cups of water, that's great. Did you know that that's actually bare minimum?
Mhm. Yeah.
Bare minimum. um there's a quote, I forget the doctor's name, but she does a video, your brain on water, and I'm going to put the link in the description of this video. Definitely everyone should check that out. She is a wealth of knowledge. Some of the notes I took are from her set. But 8 glasses of water is literally the bare minimum that you need to sustain your life. So anything under that is severe dehydration, and
Mhm.
if you're just hitting that, you are not even fully replacing the amount of water that your body uses a day. So just to check my notes, our bodies go through, where did I write it? 2.5 liters of water a day. 2.5. So that's about 9 cups of water. And again, that's just putting back what you lost. That's not even proper hydration. And then we'll also get into how, not all water hydrates the same, but just think of that. How much water are you really drinking a day? If you're hitting the 8 cups and you think, wow, I'm doing great, and wondering why you're still sluggish, you're still having like dry skin, or having diseases, because a lot of diseases, a lot of illness actually stems from the root cause of dehydration,
Yes.
because our body's not getting the proper fluid that it literally needs to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. Just by drinking more water, we can literally get rid of a lot of ailments that we have within.
Hmm.
And you're right. That's a very bare minimum, eight
Hmm.
glasses of water a day, and that's not even including the athletes
Yes.
that are out there really active teenagers. You lose water when you sweat. We lose water when we digest food. There's so many different ways. So yeah, drink more water. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the key to life. We are the majority water. So it
Yes.
makes sense. We need to constantly consume it, and it needs to be brought out, more attention brought to this. We need to understand this.
Yeah, and something as simple as having, like, if you drink a soda or a coffee or have a glass of wine, that amount of water that you require actually shoots up tremendously, because now you're counting that whatever you just intook is actually dehydrating you further. So like you mentioned too, if you're more active, if you're an athlete, age, sex, all these things do depend. But in reality, a healthy functioning body requires a ton of water, because what that does is it flushes toxins out of your body, it flushes pollutants, and it also helps with so many things. But one of the major things is cellular regeneration. So we don't realize that every day we're dying. The cells in our body, it's a live and die system all the time. And so what does water do? And the correct type of water, water helps your cells hydrate, duh. But what does that do? That helps them live longer. So if you think about how, you leave anything out of water, it shrivels up and dries out very quickly. That's what happens to our cells. It's the same type of thing. And so if we have a proper hydration going on, not only are our cells not dying as quickly as they would, they're not going to live forever. Cells do live and die, but what happens is you extend their life, and you also support the regeneration process. So you actually help them come back and regenerate, create new cells. And then also it helps with, I think, moving proteins through the body, literally so many different things. And again, I'm going to reference Your Brain on Water. I'm going to link that video in this video. So definitely check that out. It's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I have a couple lists of benefits from
Yes.
water.
Yes,
Um,
please.
Increased mental health. everybody can benefit from that. Now, water plays an important role in maintaining and increasing your mental health as it improves the quality of your day by making you feel your best. Um, it balances out the salts in your body from the foods that we're eating,
Yeah.
and especially with lots of processed foods and people quick on the go eating the fast foods, there's tons and tons of salt in there. So we need to be consuming and drinking water with that as well. Like they say, when you drink a beer or a glass of wine, flush it down with water. Same thing with like salty foods.
Hmm.
And then also, like you were saying, that the water heals our wounds faster. The more water that we're replenishing within our bodies and flushing out the toxins, like you just mentioned, then the quicker we are to heal, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then with the human, we can only survive a few days without water. It shows how important that this is for us. This is our life force.
Yes.
So, what kind of waters are we drinking?
Now,
There's Go ahead.
hopefully, hopefully we're drinking some alive water. It's what we call living water. And what is, everyone thinks, oh, water is water. There's fresh water, there's salt water, there's polluted water. But actually, we are electrically alkaline beings. Our stomach is the only spot in the body that has acid because it's designed to digest, but the rest of us is designed to live in an alkaline state. Alkaline is on the pH scale, right? So you have acidity and then alkalinity. Acidity, obviously, you think of it, no one wants acid thrown on them, right? Think about how if you drink lemon juice or vinegar, something very acidic, it burns. It has this really drying feeling. It turns out that if you are not drinking ionized microclustered water, which is also negatively electrically charged, because we are electric beings, humans have an electromagnetic field, as do everything that's alive. And so our water should also be alive. And so if we're drinking bottled water, purified water, that's all actually acid water. I encourage anyone who has just regular Poland Spring, Nestle bottle, something like that, even Fiji water, pour that in and do one of those pH tests. You can use pH strips, but I recommend the drops like you use for a pool. If it comes up on the yellow spectrum or even green's neutral, but past that, getting into the warmer colors, that's acidic. And then you'll have things like the bottled water Essentia, which says it's alkaline, which it is, it's alkaline, but it's alkaline through a chemical process using sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. You can actually read the ingredients on the bottle. It'll say that there's ingredients in your water. How fun is that? And that type of alkalinity is not really stable for your body. So the same type of electricity that is from the sky within lightning, when it strikes the water, it charges the water for about 3 days, and then after that, it loses its charge. The ionized electric water, which is living water, is actually the same type of thing where it drops its charge within 3 days. So you can't actually over alkaline from it. And the difference between that is alkaline versus alkalized. Very important for everyone to notice the difference between alkaline, which is a chemical process, and alkalized, which is done through electricity. And so these are really important differences. And as I like to say this quote, but as living beings, we should be consuming living water, also living food. And what that is our fruits and vegetables straight off the vines, because I want to kind of add a picture in, but I might do that for the next video, where you can actually see the electromagnetic energy coming off of food and the difference between fresh raw vegetables and fruits versus cooked or animal product. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just saying that you can actually see these fields. These fields are real and testable. And if you think about how human beings, right, we're like a voltage battery, right? Like we have energy, we get going, we feel good. When we feel good, we're eating the fruits and vegetables, we're drinking water, right? We look at these lifestyles and look at these people and see like, oh wow, you're looking great, what are you doing? I'm eating, living, like I am doing what is right for the body.
Adding life to life because it makes
Yes.
sense. If you're adding something that's high vibrational, that is a life source, you're literally absorbing that in your body, which fruits and vegetables are 90% water too,
Yes.
which we could even go into a whole other topic of how important it is to water our fruits and vegetables with the correct waters.
Yes.
You want to make sure that you're getting the full benefits. But yeah, so eating live, healthy foods um, creates more live, healthy cells within, and then we're able to function better. We're also able to heal better. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, well, they do say you are what you eat, right? I mean, that
That
didn't
makes
come from nowhere.
It makes sense. You know, my personal journey, I've struggled with consuming lots and lots of salty and sugary foods, and I'm still on my journey of getting that out of my life. And it's quite difficult, but on the days that I'm really good and I feed myself good, healthy living foods, because lately, for some reason, I don't even really want to eat meat. I'm not
Mhm,
an anti-meat person. I've eaten meat my
mhm.
whole life, but for some reason, I'm just not interested in it. And the days, like I said, when I'm good and I'm eating really good, live, healthy fruits and vegetables, I feel
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
And the days that I'm eating like my junk processed
yeah,
food,
yeah, like potato chips. You feel like a potato chip.
oh, I feel like one, you know? And I use this excuse as I'm a mom, I'm on the go, it's quicker, just grab this. But then I'm depleted. My
Hmm.
mental health is altered because you know, I'm going the route of putting bad stuff in my body. So
Yep.
healthy foods and healthy water is absolutely important.
Yeah, and that's the truest evidence, right? Like the lived in experience of it, like realizing that you can feel the difference. And that's what I say to anyone who switches to the living water is, you ever drink water and feel real bloated after? Like it even sloshes around your stomach sometimes. Like that's because if you're drinking especially if you're drinking tap water, but if you're drinking standard water, bottled water, anything like that, the actual clusters of water are ginormous and they don't actually absorb through our body correctly. Our cells don't really drink it. We end up just peeing most of it out. And so we're endlessly thirsty and then really full. And what living water is, the reason I said before it was ionized micro clustered, is those clusters of water are actually much, much smaller. And our cells are able to not only recognize that this is water now, but take it in and hydrate immediately. This water does not sit in your belly. You don't get that sloshy, full feeling or sound. And I thought it was nothing until I tried it, and now it's like, oh wow, this makes so much sense, and there's so much science behind it.
Mhm.
And when you really are fueling the body with the correct things, the biggest testimony to that is, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Right. So I deal with a sugar addiction. Been addicted to chocolate and sweets like that since I could remember. And I've always had a very hard time ditching it. And even in a way felt like I didn't want to ditch it. And so I've had this water in my life since October 2021. And I wasn't really an active person. I mean, I had my spiritual awakenings, but like certain habits, certain addictions were very hard to break for me. And I'm noticing that as I'm feeling more hydrated, as I'm noticing these changes in my hair, my skin, my nails, the way I feel, my energetic levels, not only am I starting to go to the gym more often, I mean, I haven't gone to the gym since before the water in like, I don't even know, maybe been 6 years. And since getting the water, it took me a little bit and drinking it, feeling that I'm starting to feel different. Like your brain has to accept that for a minute. Like, you're
Mhm.
so used to not doing it. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm doing it. It took time for me to realize I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like I want to move. I'm feeling like I want to stretch. And I started up the gym and I've been a lot more consistent than I've ever been. And just recently, too, decided that I was going to start quitting my chocolate sugar addiction. And so I've switched to fruits and vegetables, predominantly, fruits, eating lots of oranges, lots of strawberries in the day, and doing that at night for my triggers. And that really is living water, right?
Mhm.
Because water is structured, and we look at like a strawberry, which is probably 80 something percent water. You look at a watermelon, it's probably 98% water. This is just water that is structured. When you cut them open, you can see it. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we'll get into this topic when we touch on cymatics in another video. But what fruits really are is structured water in a certain frequency, and that's how they are. And it's just fascinating to look at.
Yeah, it really is. And when you were talking about transitioning from the old water you used to normally
Hmm.
drink into your living water, You mentioned it took you some time
Hmm.
to start feeling more energy, within yourself. And during that time, it's just your body, this water was flushing out
Yes,
everything else, and it's
exactly.
it's a magical process because our brains, we rely on our brains, okay, to help us through life. And if they're not functioning properly, we're not going to be able to communicate with other people. We're going to get frustrated, upset really easily. And water is that natural healant. So if you're not only drinking a lot of water, which is good, it's a good start,
Hmm.
then getting the proper water in, because then you're really, really feeding your brain like the really, really good stuff. So you're able to function better and think of things better, and see things and avenues that you might not have ever even seen before.
Yeah, and it even helps with stress. So stress actually dehydrates. Sounds weird, right? Because you think like, well, how could that be happening? I'm not sweating more because I'm stressed. But it turns out that our body, when we're stressed out, it's on overdrive, right? And so our organs, our whole systems will require more water. And so if you're often stressed out, you need to realize that you might be also very severely dehydrated. And now I know that's not the only cure. Water's not the cure all, but it is one hell of a start because again, everything in this reality is an inside out reflection. And so
Mhm.
if you're feeling stressed out and you're feeling achy or you're feeling like you have no energy, maybe it's not necessarily, what's going on around you. Maybe it's what's going on within and that your body's telling you, I'm depleted. I'm depleted. I need my water source. You got to flush these things out of me. So if you're feeling stagnant or you're feeling stressed out, really water is the first step. It sounds like, I know, it sounds like water, put the band-aid water on, fix everything. But it really is so simple. Water is the basis of all our life here. And, if you look at the planet, like I mentioned before, she's I want to say 80% water because I really think this whole it's a blue planet for the reason. And we are um not dehydrating at 75%. I want to say that we're 80% water because I feel like we can all use more water and that the studies they're doing are actually on dehydrated people because most of us are not drinking again the correct water or the correct amount of water. And so these studies that we're doing, I think, are even on a dehydrated lens and that we can be even more water. We are literally living water. If you look at our science, I wrote down just a couple numbers to put in perspective here. So going from most to least, water in the body. So real quick, cells contain 60% of all the water in the body. So just your cells alone, 60%, they contain 60% of the water. Because don't forget cells make up, the building blocks, right? So your brain is 80 to 85% water. Again, I believe these are even dehydrated numbers, but we'll go. Kidneys, 80 to 85% water. The heart, 75 to 80% water. Lungs, 75 to 80% water. Muscles, 70 to 75. Liver, 70 to 75. Skin, 70 to 75. Blood, 50%. Again, I think that number's higher. Bones, 20 to 25%. And teeth, 8 to 10%. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water. So if you're having issues in any of these departments, adding water to your system cannot hurt. If anything, it will alleviate. And again, you're going to have to allow it time. It's not a miracle cure. You're going to drink the water and let it get through your system. You got to continuously drink the water. And again, to refresh, it is so important to realize you need to drink more than 8 cups of water a day because that is bare minimum. That is just putting back in what you used. So really, we should be striving for, I believe, at least a gallon of water a day. I know that's hard, but it's a goal. You can set a goal of a lot of water. I do about 2 to 3 liters a day at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of tools that we have to help us with remembering to take water.
Yeah.
I recently got a Fitbit just to help me monitor my steps. And I was surprised that, it monitors my water intake as well. We
Okay.
can set alarms on our phones, and
Mhm.
even getting big jugs that say like 9 a.m., 9:10, or not 9:10, like 9:30, or however. I don't know if it's like you're supposed to drink some every 15 minutes. That's what I've heard. But there's so many different ways that we can try and remind ourselves to drink water.
Mhm.
And I actually feel like it is kind of like not a one-stop solution to healing every ailment, but I mean it's pretty close because
Yeah.
we are fully consumed ourselves of water. So, it just really makes sense. You're putting in more and more of that good living water, the good foods. Hopefully, your foods are being watered by the good water. But I feel that if we drank more water, there would be less problems on Earth today with health benefits or with health issues.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you mentioned, water being the solution. And if you think about it, water really is a solution. So, quick note over here, it's a universal solvent, right? Solves problem, solvent, solution. More solids dissolve in water than any other substance. So if you think about, again, the things in our body, things we're putting in our body, water helps us break these things down. Water helps us not be so dense. So when we eat real full, it's like, oh God, I can't, I can't function, I can't finish. You need a solution, you need a solvent, you need to be drinking the water to help your body do the digestive process. Because I think you mentioned before, Star, our digestive process is one of the ways that we lose our daily water, that we lose water in our body, because you don't realize how much it takes. I remember learning about how much water almond milk took to make, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is so much water, and how much water dairy milk needed. And I was just thinking of that, and then I thought to myself, our bodies, if we're consuming all this stuff, how much water do we need? And so in doing the water research today, both of us looking that, yeah, the digestive process is one of the major ways that we lose water. Also, the bowel movements, urination, all of that, we're constantly removing the water. So if you're someone who says, I don't like to drink water, I don't like the taste of water, which I don't understand because there's no taste, but that's a different thing. I definitely suggest that you find a way to enjoy consuming the water, because it's not a choice here on this earth. It is not a choice to drink water or not. You cannot go through life drinking Coca-Cola or coffee all day. And you can say coffee is water, but coffee changes the structure and chemical process of water, and therefore making it a making it a dehydrant. And
Yeah.
so it's not an option. If you're here on Earth, you have to consume water. This is really the only liquid that we're supposed to be consuming. And so I definitely urge you to find a way to enjoy it, find a way to, um, even if you cut out some of the other stuff, right? Rather than reaching for a soda when you're thirsty, because if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. You don't have to wait till you're thirsty to drink water. You just don't. And again, the living water, this microclustered ionized water, you don't get full from it. So if that's what you don't like from water, I highly suggest looking into it. But it's not meant to be this filling thing. It's meant to be a solution that solves the inner problems, that creates the energy that breaks everything down. So, your plants have to drink water, nature drinks water, animals drink water. We all do, but we're the only ones drinking Gatorade saying it hydrates, it's better. Like, no, no, it doesn't. It
Because
doesn't
you're
really.
adding so much more junk into all that when we should also
Mhm.
just ultimately go to the main source. We need to be constantly replenishing the water that we're losing throughout the day.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you're not someone who is willing to do that, then later on in life as you get older, it could get more painful, and you have all these internal issues that you're dealing with that could have been fixed by water. And even at that point, you can still start drinking water at
Yeah.
any point.
Yeah. It is never too late. It is never too late to start incorporating more water into your life. Really,
Yeah.
even I really do believe, if you think about it, all life starts in water. When you are brewing in your mother's womb, that's water. It might be a different type, maybe, call it amniotic fluid, but in the reality is we just talked about how much of the body is water. You're in water. All life starts in water. When they talk about, evolution, no matter how much I choose to believe or disbelieve, there is one thing that I do believe, is that the oceans were here first, and they were the first things full of life. Water is life. We don't just say these things because we decided to say these things one day. This is a reality. When they
Mhm.
look for, other life in different areas, what are they looking for? Water. Water is the starting place. Water is our origin. Water is a really important part of our vitality. And you look at a lot of urban communities, a lot of cities who are cut off from water. And I don't think that that is a um something that they didn't do by design. You look at a lot of urban cities, and a lot of people struggle with stressful situations, and dealing with injustices and feeling of lack of opportunities. And I do believe that's a direct reflection of not even having proper water source nearby.
Mhm.
I do want to get into two of scientists, doctors, who have done studies on water. I know you have notes on one, the awesome guy, but I have notes on somebody else. So I'm going to actually read this one. Um, Excuse me if I get his name wrong. Pronunciation and reading is not my strong point. I'm better at free flowing. But there is a medical doctor and immunologist by the name of Dr. Beneviste. I probably butchered that. And he did a study that he ended up naming digital biology. And it proves that water has memory. And so this study goes, if any substance is diluted in water, the water has the ability to carry the memory of that substance, even if the molecules of the added substance are no longer present. The molecules of a substance have a spectrum of frequency, and when the frequency is digitally recorded with a computer and played back to clean water through the use of an electronic transfuser, the water will preserve the knowledge of the actual substance and will act as if that substance had been present. He called this digital biology. So you can have water that didn't have a substance added to it, but then played back the memory of it, and it will go, oh, I know, it's in here. Water has a memory. Water is able to hold information. Water is not just a substance we drink that is just here. Water is actually an intelligence, a consciousness. It is something that is wildly overlooked. It is something that is deep within our being, our knowing. I think we all truly know this. And so one of the studies done has also proved that when water is polluted, and this is why I got to this topic now, is because looking at, like urban environments, and when you're closer to city like areas, there's not a lot of nature, there's not a lot of trees, therefore, there's not a lot of water. So the water in that area is often highly highly polluted because of all the people, because of the mass congestion, because of the, throwing things and garbage out and littering and all that. So I want to get to the reason why I brought this up now. So when water is polluted, it contains the memories of the contaminants, even after it has been filtered through our water systems. So think about that for a minute. Polluted water remembers that it was polluted. Contaminated water remembers that it's contaminated, even if you filter it. There's no filters on Earth that have the ability to remove the water's memory. Nothing. We can drink, the electric water, ionized water, microcluster, because the electric can zap it. But regular water filters are not changing this molecular structure. The water remembers, it holds the memory. There is another study done. I'm going to let you take the wheel on this one that does prove a little something something about what we can do about this.
Yes, Dr. Emoto.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's done his own study as well, which was similar findings to what you just spoke of, as far as the water consciousness and holding memory. He was able to take pictures of water from a study that he did with, low vibration words and thoughts put into those water molecules, and under a microscope, they were broken up, they were deformed water shapes, and then, that he also had water that he spoke good positive words and love and light into, and those were like 100% perfect water
Mhm.
molecules. So super interesting stuff. So when you were mentioning that, I didn't know all of that information that you just mentioned, and I'm thinking, God, that is so sad that the water can remember that it was polluted,
Yes.
because water is a consciousness, and me being an empath, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you feel it, right?
Well, I feel it. Not everybody does. I might be like a weirdo for it, but I do. And then I was instantly thinking about part of Dr. Emoto's study when he was saying that we can actually change the molecular
There
structure
you
of the
go.
water
There it
with
is.
our thoughts and our emotions.
Yeah.
So, so he actually said that water has a memory and carries within our thoughts and prayers. As you yourself are water, no matter where you are, your prayers will be carried for the rest of the world. Prayers, thoughts, intentions, whichever word you choose to use. Um, so if we can actually change the information of the water that we're drinking, well, that's just phenomenal
Yes.
because now we're changing the molecular structures, and we've seen pictures which we will post up in a following video, or we can add links as well
Yeah.
below so you can check them out. But since there's proof that you can change the molecular structure of the water, well, that's great because we could start by saying, "I love you."
Yes.
You're beautiful, you're amazing. And you drink that water and you feel like gratitude with it, and you're changing the structures of this water. Even though the water I'm drinking in my water bottle is not polluted, I don't know where it came from. I don't know
Yeah.
who handled it before
Yeah.
me.
It remembers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. And I actually at home have these water jugs that we fill up locally to get alkaline water. And all over them, I have love, imagination, kindness, joy, happiness. I have all these words on there because, because of Dr. Emoto's studies. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to change the structures of the water that my family is drinking.
Absolutely, because you're taking in that coding. And so what Dr. Emoto did was this was a 4-year study, and he took over 10,000 photographs. And like you mentioned, even writing words. So a part of that experiment was he took water from cities, water from springs, different locations, and the water that was in the same location had different they varied, but also had similarities. So what he did is, obviously he froze the water crystals so that he was able to analyze them and see them in their structured state. And all water has a hexagonal structure, a six-sided structure, but they vary within that structure. So everyone's always heard that there's no two alike snowflakes, right? That's a water crystal. So it's the same idea of that, where you can tell that the water is related, but they each look individually different. And so, yeah, he was able to write words, say words, play music. Now, this one was really interesting. Doing a study, heavy metal music actually obliterated the structure of the water. It to me looked almost like an oil slick, it's not a little snowflake. Also looking at things like you mentioned, how writing love and imagination and all these gratitude, I think, was one of the most beautiful crystals. But then you say things like "I hate you," or you even ignore it and neglect it, and the structure is blown and damaged. And your body is how much water? We went through this. It's
Mhm.
listening. And
Yeah.
the more you drink the pre-structured water, so why structured water is different than just drinking any water is that it's already ready to intake information because the structures can hold information. So a broken water structure holds no information. You can restructure it, but it will remember the damage that it had. So when the water is already microclustered, ionized, electric, alive, this is so much easier to code. And so I like to take time and sit and put intention in the water and drink that back into me. And so I really have noticed a difference because I've always had an awareness about water and consciousness, but really shifting into the type of water that I drink now. It's like I feel like I'm really getting the codes. Like not only am I understanding them, but I'm receiving them. I can feel them in such a way. And we think about how even the water in our house, how it's purified when it comes out, it's clean if you live in a good area. It's a shame that not everyone has that, but that water is damaged because it's going through right angle pipes,
Mhm.
bing bang boom, all the way up until out. And what does a right angle do? It's the harshest angle. It obliterates the structure of the water. So now you're drinking water that doesn't remember. You're drinking water that has no informational codes for you. So the structure of water is really important. And I don't know if you know this, Star, but all the water that's here on Earth has been here the whole time
Mhm.
because of the water cycle system, right? So we go through rain, condensation, evaporation, and it goes back. And so all the water that was here, we've had here since the beginning of time. And yet I can't help, here comes my conspiracy theorist self, but I like to say conspiracy realist. I believe that they're purposely damaging water structures as a way of damaging our memories.
Mhm.
And that if we can start to heal the water and help the water remember, we too will remember where we come from, what we've been through, the truth of our reality. And so to me, it's such a bigger picture on a spiritual lens, and how we can choose today to start treating water differently, to treat it like a consciousness, to treat it with the respect and love that it deserves, and have that reflect back to ourselves. There's another video I'm going to link. I forget the name of it at the moment, but it talks about how, water as a feminine energy, but also is a masculine energy. And they describe it as the water of a spring is very feminine. It flows, it is there, it's in this container. But then rainwater is very masculine, how it comes down in an action force. And just to go off topic a little bit, but even our soil is depleted. Our soil can't even receive the water. So where does the water go? It runs off into mud and pollutants, and we have floodings, and we have all these issues going on water based. And it's really reflecting on how we treat ourselves and how we actually treat the water. If you look at a dam, what is a dam? It's a man-made blockade blocking the natural flows, blocking water getting to where she needs to go. And you can look at that within ourselves. Where do we dam up ourselves? Where are we not allowing energy to flow? Very much reflectant of who we are. Again, we are living water. And so we can really look at the way society is today with the way that we treat water. It's a direct connection.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a beautiful thought that you had. I never put it into perspective of, the water being damaged, and how we can just make it, if we just started putting more love and intention into the water around us and into the stuff that, the pollutants that we're doing, we could really, really uplift Mother Nature around
Yes.
us and make it a better, healthier, more satisfying place for us to live in and be
Yes.
around. And I've never really kind of thought of that perspective until you mentioned it. And, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It really is. And there's actually, I- I'm happy to notice that there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of documentaries out there about the dangers of polluting waters
Mm-hmm.
and the damage that the humans are doing and trying to spread awareness. I even saw a Zac Efron documentary while my boyfriend and I were looking for something to watch on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and he did his own little thing on water as well. And it's nice because it's raising awareness. And I
Yeah.
feel like we're right there on like the brink of really starting to get a lot of people together to make major big changes,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. And
know.
if you think about how, like, what brings civilization together? It's water. If you think back to, like, probably the first times that people were really gathering in community, and it was most likely around watering holes. Somewhere where fresh water is, there will always be life. And it's
Mhm.
something that if we keep in our hearts and in our minds, we will really remember the truth. We can affect water in such a way. There's a study done that a group of people prayed over water in a lake, and it actually changed the structure of the water. And then they
Yeah.
tested a lake nearby, and that water was changed too.
Wow.
All water is connected.
Hmm. Yeah,
All water is connected. It comes from one source. It can be a droplet or an ocean, and it becomes one again. So even when it's separated into a drop or into a puddle, into a lake, into an ocean, into rain, it's still one consciousness.
hmm
And water will remember who it is, where it is. And so if you heal one source of water, you're beginning to heal all sources of water. And that's
yeah.
the same idea to me, just thinking out loud, is the collective conscious for us as humanity, and how every day that one person decides to change and to elevate their consciousness, It connects and touches everybody. We're not just doing this on our own. There's the reason why we're at the point that we are today. And yes, it looks dark and it looks scary, but the reality is that the scariness is coming up because we're starting to wake up. And every day that someone wakes up is another day that someone else wakes up. And again, these is not individual things. It's an individual practice, but we are directly connected in a way, in a web, in a natural cohesion. Then it's the collective consciousness. You know, we come from one source, even if we're divided into one. It's the same thing with water. You look at the rain, it's coming down in single droplets, but it will always puddle and pool together as one.
Yeah, I was just going to say we are all single drops of water in the ocean of life.
Yes.
So yes, absolutely.
Isn't that beautiful? I just love to think about that. And matter of fact, I'm going to drink to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cheers to that. You know, a little off topic, but still on topic. You know, with the fact that consciousness is water is consciousness, and we can change the molecular structures of it. You know, it's also good to be mindful when we're holding our waters, what we're saying. Because I
Yes.
have two teenagers who are constantly arguing back and forth at each other, whether they're drinking, holding something in their hand, eating, or doing something. You know, when I'm holding my water and I'm saying sweet, loving, kind things to somebody I care and love about or I appreciate, or whether I'm saying like, no, you know, like, you don't know what, you're stupid, don't talk to me, nobody wants to listen to you. Well, guess what? Now I'm charging my water with that. So
Yeah.
it's just kind
And
of
then
a,
you drink it back, you know?
and you're drinking it. Yes.
hmm
Yeah. So it's just kind of a little thought that I had that popped
No,
in. And
it's totally makes sense. You know, that goes right along with Dr. Emoto's teachings of
yeah.
how the words we say are our water is always listening, and the water in our body's listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
All the time.
yeah,
Absolutely. And
it
feeling that
doesn't even have to be.
vibration too.
Mhm, mhm.
Hmm.
It
And
doesn't
so
have to
even the
be.
waters in like when we shower, you know, even I mean, I have filters on mine, but you know, now I'm aware that the water, obviously I knew it held the memory, but I wasn't thinking of it
Mhm.
holding bad past pollutant memories.
Yeah,
You know, even just the intentions of it rolling on top of me, cleansing myself, that it has cleansed itself. As it touches me, we're both cleansing together.
exactly. And you're holding that frequency, you're holding that thought. So the
Yeah.
water is being influenced by that. So even though it came
Yes.
out from wherever it came out of and then going through the pipes to get there, it's coming out broken, it's coming out forgotten. But you're choosing to say, like, no, no, you're still cleansing, this is still purifying. I'm bathing in love.
Yes.
And so we can have a way to combat it. Is it the ultimate answer? No. Should we be bettering our water supply and drinking the right kind of water? And absolutely. But this is a start. This is a way that we can have the power today to
Yeah.
affect the water we drink, to affect our overall life and our consciousness. And there's one more thing I really wanted to throw in. Just this thought that I have. I have always loved the ocean and her creatures, especially our mammal relatives out in the waters. I'm not talking about fish. I'm talking about dolphins and whales in particular for this topic. And I've always done research on them, just watching documentaries, but I'm fascinated by them. And so I had to include this note because to me, this is amazing. So whales and dolphins have extremely pronounced wrinkling and folding in their cerebral cortex, also known as gyrification. So they have more gyrification in their brain than us, if not very closely. That's the wrinkling brains. And dolphins have a ginormous brain compared to us, size-wise compared to the body. But here's the fun part. Most importantly, they have an extremely developed insular cortex, which is responsible for not only regulating emotions, higher consciousness, compassion, empathy, and self-awareness. They have a higher developed insular cortex than we do. To me, that's because they're swimming in the mother. They're swimming in the water. And if you think about how they communicate through sonar, clicks, sounds, they're actually playing with cymatics. We can't see the frequencies that are going out. So they're speaking to each other in such an intelligent way. And I truly do believe that they have a higher ability of consciousness. And I do also believe, this is just me, that they have astral abilities and that they're constantly traveling. And for anyone who's ever been in the water with a dolphin or whale, or has had the privilege to see one, that isn't in, SeaWorld and out in nature, and you look in their eyes, they see you.
Mhm.
They see you. And I think it's because the water knows who all of us are. And the mammals who are air breathing, just like us, the mammals in the water receive this information, and therefore they know us too. And so the atrocities that occur with, whaling and the way they hunt them, and, really bothers me, because it's just like attacking, an angel or a being of our caliber. But I really do believe that they have developed such a heightened ability in this aspect of their brain, between the empathy and the higher consciousness, because they literally exist within the waters.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's probably spot on.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And everyone should be careful in the water, but I find this interesting that there's absolutely no attack recorded of, like, killer whales in nature with humans, and yet they go after everything. It only happens in SeaWorld when they're captivated. If anything, they come up to us very curious. I think they remember. I'm not telling anyone to go jump in the water with them. Please don't. But from the instances where it has happened, they have yet to ever attack a human out in the wild. And I find that really fascinating. I really do think that they have a lot to teach us, that they have a lot of spiritual wisdom for us, and their ability to connect with the water in such a way. I was just watching a video too of, like, some of their hunting styles, and that they actually use the water. Like, they know how to work with the currents. They know how to move and manipulate it in a part of some of their hunting strategies. So they're aware that they're in water. Anyone ever asked, does a fish know they're in water, or they just live there? Well, dolphins and whales know that they are in water. They're aware of their environment. They're aware of what it is. They're aware of each other. They're aware of us. And I really do believe that we can talk to these souls in the near future, if we don't already.
Yeah, and just like they're aware of themselves actually being in the water and using it, even though they
Mm-hmm.
can't necessarily see it, like we can't see the air that we breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, um, we can manipulate the air, the energy that we have above ground, also to help us manipulate water and even, consciousness within the
Mm-hmm.
food, which could be a whole other topic.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, that's very interesting that they naturally instinctively know this because they are. I also believe that they're highly very intelligent whales and dolphins,
Yeah.
and I also believe they astral travel as well. But the
Yes.
fact that they even use the water, knowing,
Yeah.
that's just an instinct, a natural instinct of theirs, and it would be nice to see that coming out more in the decades to come with humans, with just being able to use our own elements as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're right. Through breath work, which I definitely would love to do a video on that. With breath work, we can manipulate, our everything, our bodies, our consciousness, our abilities. And it's interesting because air really is a form of water.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
even measured as water is. And so we're constantly around and surrounded by it. And it's really just time to bring awareness to such a beautiful, important element, such a mystery. I mean, it's the only element to exist in three stages: solid, gas, solid, liquid, gas. But there's actually a fourth phase, and I'd like to get into that later. I think this would go well with the cymatics topic. But the fourth phase is called plasma, and it is a liquid crystalline type of water. And it is the next part of our evolution. And I believe that that is really a part of our crystalline beings coming online, which I don't know if anyone knows about, but we're going through upgrades, we're going through DNA upgrades, and a lot of it deals with our water bodies, because that's what holds the information. Information is handed down through water, through lifetimes. And so we're going to regain that. As we begin to become conscious and heal the water, we're getting our memories back, we're getting our consciousness back. And really, I look forward to what the future brings, with water really being the next, let's say, I don't really want to call it a market as a commodity, but like, it's the next thing. Water consciousness, waking up to water, is really going to be the next huge thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many different streams and avenues that water can go down for all of its different types of benefits. And you're right, it's going to be the next, I believe, mainstream thing as well. Um, you know, so much to come with water.
I know. I'm so
It's just,
excited for the next video already, and we didn't
I
even
just don't
start.
want to keep talking because there's just too much that, it's really
I
exciting.
know. I
Really.
know. I think it's great. I think we can leave it here for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you have anything you want to add to the conversation, water awakenings, what's your first memory with water? I'd love to know that right in the comments. But yeah, so this is Guiding Stars. We had a wonderful time chatting with everyone today, and we look forward to next time.
All right. See you then.